from home or the office, wherever. You haven't missed anything. We just had a slight delay technology problem, and they tell me we're back up and ready to go. And we are on applicant 64, DCH Licensing LLC for pre-qualification status.
Just to close the loop on number 63, just before we took a break, we did have 4 yes votes
Right.
on that, so that motion to pre-qualify did pass.
Yep. Okay, 64, what's the board's feelings?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve applicant DCH Licensing LLC for pre-qualification status. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Applicant 65, Peer LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Peer LLC pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Applicant 66, 3 Green LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve 3 Green LLC pre-qualification for a pending application.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported to grant applicant 3 Green LLC pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Applicant 67, Deep Blue Labs LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to grant applicant Deep Blue Labs LLC a pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
No.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Applicant 68, Lakeshore Cultivation, Michigan LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve applicant Lakeshore Cultivation, Michigan LLC for pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. 69 and 70 can be done together, is that correct?
And 7,
You want?
Oh, 71 too. Yep.
3. Motion to approve Total Health Cultivation, Total Health Collective, and Total Health Processing.
Is there support for that?
Yes.
Moved and supported to approve applicants Total Health Cultivation LLC, Total Health Collective LLC, Total Health Processing LLC. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, I gotta open them. Okay, next is 72 applicant BDE Warren LLC for pre-qualification.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to approve applicant BDE Warren for pre-qualification status. Is any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Thank you. 73, the Standard Detroit LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve applicant, the Standard Detroit LLC for pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. And 74, the best title yet. In Between Dreams LLC for a pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant pre-qualification status to In Between Dreams LLC. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant 75, Tree RX LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Is there support? It's moved and supported to grant applicant Tree RX LLC pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Now I believe we can do 76, 77, 78 together.
That's correct.
The applicant is Dragonfly Kitchen, Inc., Dragonfly Kitchen 2, Dragonfly Kitchen 3, Inc., for pre-qualification status.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicants 76, 77, and 78 pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant 79, Chronic City LLC for pre-qualification status.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Chronic City LLC be denied a pre-qualification status under Section 4023A, personal business probity to operate and maintain a facility. 4023A also, again, the integrity and moral character reputation of the applicants.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to deny applicant 79, Chronic City LLC pre-qualification status.
Mr.
Go ahead, open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, regarding supplemental applicant BW, there were 2 domestic arrests. One was a felony, great bodily harm, less than murder. Needless to say, that's a pretty significant charge. There was a second domestic that was, and maybe that is the same one. It's the second domestic was not disclosed. And my notes indicate also undisclosed is a marijuana charge from 2010, interfering with the police, and a larceny over 200. There were several charges that were lumped into one that resulted in one plea to the interfering. Regarding applicant KS, this applicant is at a minimum a member of a social club for the consumption of marijuana. It's a pretty celebrated social club in Detroit. It's a dab house that can be described as nothing more than an open air drug market. To deny the open air drug market status of this establishment would be like going to a library and denying that there were books there. Whether you're a member or some type of an owner, proprietor of this place, as has been suggested. It's, at some points, you can't deny what's obviously going on there. One of the biggest problems, excuse me, that we're going to have going forward in the regulated market is separating the legal market from the black market. This is clearly a black market operation that this applicant is associated with, and that's going to bring every license holder that we have in the licensed marijuana market into jeopardy if we don't separate these two. For the first time, we have an illegal market. We have now the legal market that we're putting together through this 2016 law. And we're going to create a gray market, which is going to be bad actors with licenses to sell. And they're going to be able to cut into the legal market because they're going to be able to do so much cheaper. This is a real problem for me on this application, and I can't support this one.
Just real quick, we did get an amended report to say that KS has interest in only 2 other businesses, and that the businesses do not have an interest. She was only a member of the Marijuana Social Club in 2016. She did not or does not have any type of ownership in the Marijuana Social Club. So I just wanted to clarify that, just because that's on the record. It was amended early this morning, is what it looked like to me.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was.
So
We wanted to
just
make sure.
just so you
Yeah,
had that. I didn't know if you saw that or.
Yeah, I was aware with that, and
Okay.
Fortunately or unfortunately for some of these applicants with 37 years in the business and so much of my time spent in this area, I know some things that I encouraged Laura, the BMR, to put into the report that didn't make it, and it is what it is. I mean, I know what I know, and I'm not going to check that knowledge at the door.
Okay, board. Discussion?
I can support based on the definitive comments that were made as it relates to what's actually in the report, but not the assumptions.
Okay, any more discussion? The motion is to deny applicant Chronic City LLC a pre-qualification license. Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you.
And that was for to deny.
Yes. Next is Green Guard Transport LLC for pre-qualification status, applicant number 80.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve Green Guard Transport LLC.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Green Guard Transport LLC a pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Okay, next is applicant Pistoles, is that how you say it?
Pistolesi?
Pistolesi?
Last name.
Yeah. LLC, a pre-qualification status.
Assumed name Sapphire Farms. That's a little easier.
What was that?
I said the assumed name is Sapphire Farms.
There. That is much easier.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that Pistolesi LLC has pre-approval.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Sapphire Farms LLC or Pistoles, how you saying it? Pistoles?
Sapphire Farms.
These people.
Yeah.
Sapphire Farms.
Sapphire Farms, pre-qualification status. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, regarding this application, I just wish we would see more that are just like this. It was, I had to read it 3 or 4 times just because it was such a pleasure.
Any more discussion? Please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes. Next is 82, applicant Dorade Bacall for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Is there support? I'll support it. Motion is to grant applicant Doreen Bacall a pre-qualification status. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, regarding this application, the supplemental applicant DB, there are several between 2010 and 2016 citations related to cigarette rules violations and taxes. This is exactly this type of stuff that we're going to be dealing with. The department is going to be dealing with, that licensed holders are going to be asked to deal with. And in my mind, this applicant has displayed that they're not going to abide by the rules that are in place.
Chris, was there 5 non-disclosures in this? Were they considered non-disclosures from 2010 through 2015?
They were not initially disclosed, but I would point out all of these license violations were dismissed. The charges were dismissed.
Okay,
And there was an explanation in there. I don't recall off the top of my head what the explanation was, but there was an explanation about that.
okay,
Sometimes
thanks.
citations are confused
Mhm.
on things like that.
Any more discussion? Motion is to grant Doreen Bacall pre-qualification status. Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Next applicant is 83 SBVB Grand Rapids LLC for pre-qualification status. Wishes of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve applicant SBVB Grand Rapids LLC for pre-qualification status. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Applicant number 84, Five Lakes Farm LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant Five Lakes Farms LLC pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Now we have 85 through 86, correct?
Yes. 85,
Please.
86, and
Oh,
87.
I'm sorry, yep.
Motion to approve 85, 86, and 87.
Is it, okay, it's moved and supported to grant Green Bronco 3, Green Bronco 2, Green Bronco 4 pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
No.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 88, applicant Greenstone, Michigan LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to grant applicant Greenstone, Michigan LLC a pre-qualification status. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, looking at my notes, this is tied, one of the applicants is tied to a denied application from January. Greenstone, Michigan LLC. Is that correct? Caldwell 5540 LLC was a denied.
That application was denied. I don't recall off the top of my head who are the applicants on that.
Okay, all right. Because I didn't notice that in the board report that it was mentioned, but I'm not quite sure how, but I remembered it.
Which applicant was the concern? Do we know? Because it's different. It's not all the same. There's
Right.
one common.
It looks to me like this was the issue that I
person's
had.
now off.
But I don't think that
That's
person
not-
was a
Yeah.
part of this one.
Not a part of this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. You triangulated it right, but I think that person's off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Applicant number 89, Cross Country Enterprises LLC for pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved and supported to grant Cross Country Enterprises LLC pre-qualification status. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Next is applicant 90, Curry LLC for pre-qualification status. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Curry LLC a pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant 91, Apex Ultra Worldwide LLC for pre-qualification status.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that Apex Ultra Worldwide be denied under Section 4023A, integrity, moral character, reputation, and also 4023A, the personal and business probity to operate. I believe that there are others still involved in this application that are have not been identified and included in the application.
Is there support for that?
Can't support if it's not in the report. I see what you're saying, but I just can't support. It's just pre-qualification, so if upon licensure, we find that they violated the application, I think it's a different situation. But I don't know that we can support or have that as a denial.
Well, I think it's the same standard that the department used on very many other applications, because I'm looking at one here on yet a different one, but it's the same situation and the verbiage they use, and I agree with it. And it applies here as other businesses or individuals are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application. That's a
Yeah, as long as
judgment.
the department lets us know that, yeah, I just didn't see
Yeah,
that.
And that's,
Yeah.
And neither did
that's a
I.
judgment I make on this one based on my experience in law enforcement, that this is what I see, the exact same thing.
And I think we all know it was denied early and they restructured and kind of cleaned up the participants.
On
So-
paper, and that's actually part of the problem is this is not.
But I think what we have to look at, though, is actually what has been presented to us and not kind of assume, because when you look at the paper as what has been presented to us, as far as those individuals have been removed.
Yeah, I don't believe that they have.
then
But we
when-
can't,
Yeah, when they go for licensure though.
but they have actually been removed on paper, though. I mean, it's,
We review the
I don't know
applications
what-
very carefully for any indication, and we require them to provide us with all their business documents that show, any changes that have been made to the ownership. Anything we find, we pursue if we have something to go on. So certainly at licensure, that's going to be a continuing question as to who the ownership is.
In addition, when we're talking about supplemental applicant AV, owned and operated an illegal dispensary for years. It was raided in 2016. There was a charge of 5 to 45 kilos. It was ultimately dropped by the prosecutor, but that doesn't change the fact that they were in violation of the law that was in place, which is the 2008 law. My understanding is they've been raided 3 times prior to this application, prior to this new law going into effect. And as to applicant AY, and this is the current application, there are several civil suits that have been filed in the last 7 years regarding business practices.
But the last one actually indicates the charges were dropped by the prosecutor because the individual had local authority to operate and all property seized during the search was returned.
I don't think the drugs were, but
It says all property seized during the search was returned.
right. And
So I assume that that's all, the drugs would be all, whatever, all, it said all property.
right.
And that would, I would have to say, is a misstatement because drugs cannot be returned to anyone regardless if they had lawful authority to have them. But all of the money and any other things that were seized, I apologize, that should have been a little bit clearer. But we're prohibited by law for law enforcement to return drugs to anybody.
But if the assumption was that the money was illegally,
correct.
then that would have been,
Correct. Yes, every other thing that was seized was returned, is our understanding, because they had approval by the municipality, so they didn't go forward on it.
And that's part of my concern with this application, but many applications, is we end every sentence with, to our understanding, as far as we know. I don't think that many of these have been vetted thoroughly enough, deeply enough. Not all of them need that. Some of them do. And I think this is an example of that.
but this one does not say as, but it doesn't say as far as we know. It says the charges were dropped
Right.
and all property seized during the search was returned. It doesn't say as far as we know. It says definitive.
I'm an attorney, so I always say, as far as we know, as best we understand, but the facts that we have is that it was dismissed and the property was returned.
Okay, we've got a motion to deny. Is there support? Hearing none, motion fails or dies for lack of support. Is there any other motion?
Can I just make a motion to discuss?
Sure can. I'll support it. Motion is to discuss.
Previously, when it was,
Wait a minute, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Nicole.
previously when it was denied, it was based on an applicant that came up. What were those initials? A1 or AV?
Neither, the person that came off the application is not still part of that application. I believe it may, just a second here.
I just want to make sure that, because there's disclosure of ownership and then,
That person is no longer on the application.
Yeah, there were tax liabilities in the previous, with the previous individual.
and that's why I'm concerned if the consulting company is still, if they're still a part of the consulting company, they're still technically a part of the liability.
But the person was removed. They had some tax liabilities, correct?
Yes.
But it's not tied to the consulting company that they could still potentially be tied to? Does it seem like it, this is a weird.
But the person is no longer an owner, if you will.
Right,
I just want to make sure because they go into the 100% owner as one person as far as the consulting,
Mhm.
but then the disclosure of ownership lists 3 people.
well, no, there is the consulting company, which is a 58.5% ownership, and of that 58.5%, AY owns 100% of that, and then you have the 3 other individuals.
From my review, after looking at the new ownership versus the denied, the old ownership, 83% of the new ownership is still problematic based on what I saw in the new application. So
And what were the concerns again for that 83%, John?
The criminal charges, the police resources that had to be expended on the illegal operations. And you're correct from what the board report says, that it was the prosecutor had dismissed because they had local permission. Well, it's like having an ordinance that supersedes a state law. You can't have that. But they didn't want to pursue it because probably in 2016, we knew this thing was coming along, and none of the prosecutors had much of an appetite for pursuing these things. Still made it illegal. Police resources were still had to be expended, and it was still a violation. And that didn't matter to this applicant because he was making money.
Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, we are no longer in discussion. Do we have a motion?
Is there a motion on the table at all?
There's none.
I move to approve Apex Ultra Worldwide.
Is there support for that? Well.
I'll support it.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to grant applicant 91 Apex Ultra Worldwide LLC a pre-qualification status. Any more discussion?
Can I have,
You can, go ahead.
so any pending cases that are in here, if something was, is it like earlier, like if something results from that, if they would be in violation and the licensure wouldn't happen?
At the time of licensure, just like it is here,
Right.
we would present or we would consider everything that we have up to that point. The same as the board changing a decision previously.
And then if something
Correct.
comes,
Correct. And they have a continuing obligation to provide updated information.
There's just a lot of, I mean, it's not a blemish-free application for sure.
I don't think
And I-
any of them.
No, right. But I just want to make sure that if there's, normally we don't have as much pending. So if there's something pending that would become in violation.
And I would point out that this, I believe it's AY, no,
Or AV from the.
one of them has, owns insurance, an insurance company.
AY.
And so a lot of these litigations
right,
that you're
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
are not directly related to that person.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying if something comes of that becomes criminal,
Correct.
then that is a whole different situation.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would point out too, it's in the board report that the individual who was temporarily operating closed down in February of 2017 and did not reopen under,
Yeah. I
even
saw that.
after he got the property back.
And again, if they have an inspection and the person that came off the application is there, then that's a whole different situation. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any more discussion? Motion is to approve applicant Apex Ultra Worldwide LLC. Any more discussion? Please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Next is applicant 92, Paper and Leaf LLC for a pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve?
Is there support? I'll support it. Motion is to grant applicant Paper and Leaf LLC a pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Okay, next is applicant 93, Green Mitten Agricultural Corporation for pre-qualification status.
And 94 is the
Is
same
it?
supplemental applicant. You want to take those together?
Yep, and also with that, applicant 94, Maridel Corporation for a pre-qualification status.
Motion to approve 93 and 94.
Second.
Motion to approve 93 and 94 for pre-qualification status. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Whoops. Okay, number 95, applicant is Seymour Ventures LLC for pre-qualification status. Wishes of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Seymour Ventures LLC a pre-qualification status. Any support, discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Okay, the last pre-qual is for applicant 96, 5303 Portage Inc. for pre-qualification. Wishes of the board.
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant 5303 Portage Inc. a pre-qualification status. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay, that gets us to C for state operating licenses applications. And the first one is VB Chesney LLC for a license for, is it just one Class C or is it more than that?
Yes, this is adding 1 Class C to the current stacked licenses at this location.
Just one,
Correct.
okay?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant a license to VB Chesney LLC for a Class C grow. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Next applicant is KTC Industries LLC for a license for a provisioning center. They were pre-qualified on October 29th, 2018.
And 2 and 3 are the same.
You're right.
As is number 4.
As number
And
4.
number 4. Yes.
2, 3, and 4.
Same owner, different LLC on that fourth one.
Does, it-
Two-
if the name of the owner changes, can we still lump it?
We have in the past.
Okay.
Mhm.
Support for all 3.
Motion is support. on that?
Motion for all, to support all 3.
Is there support?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to grant applicant KTC Industries LLC a provisioning license. Number 3 applicant KTC Industries LLC, a provisioning center license. And number 4 applicant Canisius LLC, Canalisis LLC for a processor. Moved and supported. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, regarding these 3 applications, the BMR enforcement section had to do 2 different investigations at least, and then it drifts into another application later on as well regarding backroom deals where agreements are made to put people on licenses that would never qualify for licenses. This is a significant problem that the industry is going to have is people, straw men, shadow owners, and it's laid out right here in this application. People that would never qualify have been promised parts of these licenses when they can't because of statutory requirements. One of the caregivers, there is a lawsuit filed that's going to be pending. There's a caregiver involved, if you in reading the reports, that in 1 month, a caregiver who can have at most 72 plants, according to his lawsuit, supplied $200,000 worth of marijuana. That's just not possible under the 2008 law to produce $200,000 at one time of marijuana and stay anywhere close to compliant with the 2008 law regarding caregivers. This has turned into a huge mess, and I can't support this packet of applications until this is resolved. The attorney for the applicant is involved in this as well. It's just it's a mess and really the worst nightmare that the industry could hope for.
Any more discussion?
Would the state like to elaborate on that from a legal perspective?
They are currently licensees. Enforcement did an investigation, and though all of those results, as far as we're concerned, as far as Mr. Hanna could speak up, but if I'm wrong, but I believe those are considered closed and resolved. There's no further information that we're seeking at this time on those applications. So it would be up to the board as to how they see the results of those applications, of those investigations.
In looking at the documents that I saw when I went through the civil action that has been filed, it was very compelling to me, the arguments that were being made by the aggrieved party suing the applicant here. It looked exactly like what you would fear these backdoor deal, a straw man ownership interest is going to look like, and that's what we have here. That's what was outlined in that lawsuit that's pending.
Any more discussion?
Only note that I had made is it common for 100% ownership to not be near where it's going to be? Like,
We have several of those.
I'm sorry.
so they can live that far. Okay.
Right.
It just, I've seen like where there's another partner close by, but he's pretty far away to really oversee all the operations, but.
Well, many aren't going to directly oversee
No, I
themselves.
get
They'll
that.
set a manager or somebody to carry out their policies.
And that's part of the issue. There was also in regards to the BMR enforcement investigation, there was essentially a verbal cease and desist on product that had not been entered into metric, I believe, and the owner refused to shut down as required until that metric component was addressed, and I think it took a week before it finally was closed down at the request or at the order of the BMR inspection enforcement.
With two statements in the report that indicates that the temporary operation is in compliance with the resolution on marijuana product access, and also KTC Industries has been subject to investigations from the Bureau of Marijuana Regulations Enforcement Team. These investigations have not resulted in any rules violations.
That's kind of a word game that's being played, and I understand that, and I understand why they're splitting that hair. BMR, the enforcement section, doesn't have authority until they're licensed. Well, this entity is not licensed. It's one of these temporary operators in this situation, so they can't call. They're not calling it a violation because they don't have the authority over them until they're licensed. So it's kind of a word game. A violation is a violation, whether you're licensed or not. Now, whether it's enforceable, that's an entirely different question.
But they
can't-
indicate that they're in compliance, though.
Mhm.
There,
If we could maybe ask Mr. Hanna on that, I believe it was a metric issue that was investigated.
It's about the metric investigation. Right. So in the beginning, they were not compliant. We educated them into compliance. If you're looking at the legal report provided 18-3-48.
I didn't
we
write
have-
the number. I didn't write
Okay.
the number down.
Okay. So we had Rule 36, administrative rules violations. That a licensee cannot be in possession of marijuana product that is not identified or recorded in the statewide monitoring system, and they're required to immediately record existing product in the statewide monitoring system. What happened was that they had a misinterpretation of what they thought our current emergency rules were when it came to putting that information into metric. They believed that they had 30 days to which to do so. When we learned of the inability to put their information into metric, we educated them into compliance, and then we sent this investigation report over to legal division. The legal division, and I'll pull it up here, determination has been administratively closed due to the fact the licensee is currently in compliance and has been compliant since January 3rd, 2019. At this time, the memo should be recorded in the licensee's file for informational purposes or for the future non-compliance occurs and for the board's consideration.
Regarding that investigation, there was also two managers at these facilities that were contacted and told to stop operations until the metric component was updated and complied with. And they were interviewed in your investigation, and they were ultimately fired because they agreed to close, but the owner said, no, we're not closing. In fact, you're out of a job now.
That's our understanding.
That's your understanding?
That's our understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? The motion is to approve applicant 2, 3, and 4, KTC Industries LLC, KTC Industries LLC, and Canadius, Canalicious LLC for a pre-qualification, no, these are for license, I'm sorry, to grant them a license. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
No.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 2 yeses and 2 nos. Motion fails.
Okay. We need to do a deny motion now? Is that correct?
Discuss further and see if you can come to agreement or discuss a little more and see if somebody wants to make a new motion in your direction.
Okay, we're open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, and regarding the last statement from Mr. Hanna in the enforcement section, when we're talking about who knew what, when did they know it, it's a good question. It's one that needs to be answered. And the very last statements, questions from me and statements from Mr. Hanna is they knew that they had to close the door. They knew that they had to stop business until the metric component was addressed. And not only did they not do that, they fired the folks they had working for them that were trying to do that. So they went above and beyond the notion that, we didn't know. We apologize because we had a misinterpretation. There was no misinterpretation. BMR enforcement contacted managers. Managers agreed to do that. Those managers contacted the owners. The owners refused to comply and, in fact, ultimately dismissed the employees that were trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, so.
But we
that was
cannot
part of the
assume.
report from Mr. Hanna. No, he did say that, right? You said, so that's when I changed my vote, because that goes to integrity to me. So if it's in a report with Mr. Hanna's area, then that's what they were saying, then there's a question here for me with the moral and integrity and good character, so. I think that needs to be considered, because that didn't come from Mr. Bailey, that came from Mr. Hanna as he spoke at the podium.
And Mr. Head, are you saying that we have definitive details that that's why these individuals were fired?
I don't think the report talks about that exactly.
Right.
That's
I
what,
think- I
that's
don't know
what
if
they're
we can,
saying.
But I don't think we can assume that.
Here's what our investigators' observations are. Okay? I use initials along with what the board typically does. Okay. In-person contact was made with DB on 11/14 to deliver Omer Provisioning Center license regarding what their next steps were to put their things into metric. An email to a D and a KB on 11/28. Response from a D on 11/29 advising of a hiccup with the processing center, but not an update on the provisioning center. 11/29/18, investigator replied to the email stating they need an update on the provisioning center in Omer. 11/29, advised by D that they wouldn't be shutting down until the 8th or 9th to enter product. 11:30, spoke with K via telephone, and advised him both facilities needed to shut down if product not tested or entered in the metric. He said he would close the facilities immediately and enter product over the weekend. Update from K that the owners did not want to close the facilities as instructed, and he was fired from the company. 12/4 was that update. 12/4 update from D advising the same information, and she left the company. 12/4 spoke with attorney DD to close the facility. 12/4 spoke with manager of provisioning center in Omer, SM, and advised to close the facility, of which he advised he would do. 12/4 spoke with manager processor in Beconning, DB, to enter product in the metric prior to selling, which he stated he would do. 12/4 email to attorney DD and owner DK. That is our investigation observations.
Okay, and what was the time frame in terms of when the person was requested to shut it down and when it was shut down?
11/30/2018, spoke with K via telephone, advised both facilities need to shut down if product not tested or entered in the metric. He stated he would close the facilities immediately and enter product over the weekend. On 12/4/2018, update from K that owners did not want to close the facilities as instructed, and he was fired from the company.
But do we know if it was closed down on 12/4 or not?
I thought it was 12/6 or 7. Is there a 12/6
When was
or
it
7
closed
date?
down?
Okay. So again, on 11/30, we told them to shut down.
Right.
And they didn't do it.
On 12/4,
It was still
it
open?
was still open.
Okay, all right, got it.
Was there, apparently not, because you didn't bring it up. I thought there was a date of 12/6 or 12/7 when it actually was closed.
Mhm, right.
Let me go back in the beginning of the report. Give me a second.
If it was a pharmacy, running without a pharmacist, we wouldn't give them that much time.
And I think that should be
They
noted.
they voluntarily ceased operations on 12/4, and that was when we made additional contact yet again
Yeah.
Okay,
to say, so here we go again.
so we
Um,
need to note that in the file,
And the denial.
in the denial.
Okay, I mean, in the report, it says on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
12/4, when we learned
In
that
the motion.
we emailed the attorney on 12/4 to say this needs to stop.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I'll make a motion. Can I make a motion now? Are we- Okay.
Floor is open.
Okay. So I move to deny KTC Industries LLC, Canalicious LLC application. Applicant is not qualified to receive a license under the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act, Section 4023A, applicant's integrity, moral character, and reputation.
Personal business program.
Personal business probity, is that the same number?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, 4023.
Personal and business probity to operate or maintain a marijuana facility under also 4023A.
Mhm. Support?
Okay, it's been moved and supported to deny excuse me, applicant KTC Industries LLC, number 2, and number 3, KTC Industries LLC, and then number 4, Canalicious LLC, altogether. There is support.
And then I'm just going to add a side note. So your integrity, moral character, and reputation is huge. It's in all aspects of every professional area. If I, as a pharmacist, have somebody come in from the state that said you do not have a pharmacist at your pharmacy, you have to not operate and not be open, I don't get to email and text and, oh, maybe I'll do that next weekend. This is jeopardizing the public integrity, and this department, once this board is dismantled, cannot allow this to happen because it sets a bad precedence for the good players out there, and this will not be tolerated, in my opinion.
And this person seemingly would have continued on had you not
Absolutely.
gone back out there. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
And thank you, Mr. Hent.
Okay, it's been moved, supported. Any more discussion?
It would be helpful if you wanted to perhaps clarify what the specific reasons are, aside from the statutory provisions that you're relying on.
Failure to shut down on November 30th, 2018 when requested.
And obviously had no plans to until they went back out. So.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, clerk will call the roll on denial.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Number 5 is the applicant CLDD LLC for pre-qualification status. Excuse me, for a license. Does this one,
Second.
wait, hold on a second.
CLD.
Okay, I was already granted, Yep, just for a license.
Yep.
Moved and supported?
Who was the second on that one?
Nicole.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the applicant CLDD LLC for a license for a provisioning center?
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
next is number 6. The applicant is TJM Enterprises Services LLC for a license for a provisioning center.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I make a motion to deny under 4023A, excuse me, personal and business probity, and also 4023A, integrity and moral character of the applicant.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported to deny a license to applicant TJM Enterprises Services LLC. Open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, a number of issues we have here. This is a denied application that comes back with a new owner. I don't see from the application that I was able to read the information we had that this person has any experience in running an operation like this. There's several money issues that are problematic for me when looking at this. There's one account that has extreme deposits over the last 11 months that are never explained. 130,000, 40, 55, 55, 205. It doesn't make any sense based on taxes and W-2 information. Excuse me. There's also in one calendar year, $128,000 in four daily pick four. I'm not sure what the lottery is. It's a random pick number kind of a setup. There were 12 winning tickets on one particular day. The probability that somebody can win $128,000 in a calendar year on a daily 4-pick kind of a lottery ticket is when the payouts are $2,600 to $5,000 is pretty. The probability is pretty large. Difficult for you to do that. But what we do know from law enforcement, one of the ways that money is made clean is to have people buy lottery tickets from winners and oftentimes pay more than the face value of the ticket. because now they can show that they have, in a case of a $5,000 winning ticket, they can show that they've got 5,000 clean dollars. It's very common. And one thing that I know, because I do know people that play these kind of lotteries religiously, it's their hobby. They need to keep their losing tickets so they can have a write-off, which makes sense. I mean, if you won $100,000, but you spent $70,000 making the 100, you want to write off the 70. And there was none of that in the tax information. So there's $128,000 in winning tickets. There are 0 deductions for gambling expenses on this. I think there are applicants involved in this application. They have not been identified, just as the department has made that determination from looking at some other applications that there are other business or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in this application as well.
Anything else? I will say this, on the pick 4 lottery tickets, it is possible. If any of you watched 60 Minutes about 6 weeks ago, a friend of mine that lives less than 10 miles from me, I believe over the time he netted 8.7 million.
Yeah, that wasn't a pick 4. I saw that too.
I don't know what it was.
And I noted that he was from your area, and he had a state trooper involved in that. It was not me, unfortunately.
I just want to win the Powerball. How can I do that?
Right.
This guy might know how to do it.
That was a different setup than this game.
Is that I don't know because I don't play the lottery.
There were hundreds of winners in a year of this game, and if I had the system down where I could do that, I wouldn't work. I would buy lottery tickets.
Okay, the motion is to deny. And I don't know if I'm going to hear any more discussion. Please, clerk, call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
thank you. Next, 2 of them, I guess, 7 and 8. A license for 2 provisioning centers for Pharmaco, Inc.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
Been moved and supported to grant a license to Pharmaco, Inc. for a provisioning center, and the second one is also a provisioning center. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
thank you. Number 9, the applicant is Venco, Michigan, Inc. for a license for a grower Class C.
Motion to approve, Venco.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved and supported to approve Venco, Michigan, Inc. for a license for a grower Class C. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, next is number 10. The applicant is Destination 420 LLC, and this is for a license for a provisioning center.
I make a motion to deny the license for a provisioning center under section 4023A, applicant's integrity, moral character, reputation, as well as the personal and business probity to operate or maintain a marijuana facility. There was evidence of other business or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application.
Support.
Moved and supported to deny applicant Destination 420 LLC a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, next, the applicant, I believe 11 and 12, right? Top Dollar Holdings LLC for provisioning center number 11, provisioning center number 12. What's the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion to deny Top Dollar Holdings based on section 4023A, integrity, moral character, and reputation, as well as personal and business probity to operate or maintain a marijuana facility, and the responsibility or means to operate or maintain a marijuana facility. And then section 4023C as in cat, the sources and total amount of the applicant's capitalization to operate and maintain the proposed marijuana facility. There was evidence of implausible business arrangements to support their capitalization. The applicant continued operation after being denied for licensure by the municipality. And there are other business or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application. So my motion is to deny Top Dollar Holdings.
Can we do 12? 12?
Yeah, I've got 11 and 12 in that.
And also 11, 12, and 13.
13's the same too?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she's on her own.
Yep. Yeah, because 11 and 12 are two separate files.
Yeah.
All of them are
Leave
the
these
same.
Separate unless the motion is identical on both of them.
Yeah, and they're not quite,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
the motion is for 11 and 12 Top Dollar Holdings for denial. Any more, any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, next is applicant 13, Lisa Azar, for a license for a grower Class C.
Motion to deny based on 4023A. 4023A, I'm sorry, the applicant's integrity, moral character, and reputation, personal and business property to operate or maintain a marijuana facility, responsibility or means to operate and maintain a marijuana facility, the sources and total amount of the applicant's capitalization to operate and maintain the proposed marijuana facility. The applicant continued to operate after being denied for license by the municipality. The applicant has applications for other license where other business or individuals are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application, and the applicant failed to provide adequate records to support business income as a source of capitalization.
And just to clarify, I think you
Let's
specifically
let's
referenced.
get a support on that. So you're going to
I'll
support?
Mhm.
Support it, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, I think you specifically referenced section 4023A with several provisions there.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned sources and total amount of the applicant's capitalization. That would be 4023C. Do
Mhm.
you intend for that to be part of your motion?
4023A and 4023C.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll support the new motion.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to deny applicant Lisa Azar for a grower's Class C license. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would just note that this is another situation where there's a bunch of, what it certainly appears to everybody, a bunch of backdoor deals going on to avoid the transparency that the licensing requires. And heading down this path seems to be, at this point, catching up a lot of what look like on the surface good people doing bad things. And there's no room in licensing for that.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, next is number 14, the applicant being Greenhouse Beds LLC for a license for a provisioning center.
I make a motion to deny Greenhouse Meds licensure for a provisioning center based on section 4022C as in cat. The applicant has knowingly submitted an application for a license under this act that contains false information, as well as section 4023A as in apple, the integrity, moral character, and reputation, and personal and business probity to operate or maintain a marijuana facility. The applicant provided false information as to the date the applicant entity when they began operation, and they did not claim and file sales tax returns and pay sales tax for some months of operation since January of 2018. My motion is to deny Greenhouse Meds.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported to deny applicant Greenhouse Meds LLC a license for provisioning center. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard.
Yes.
Nicole Cover.
Yes.
Donald Bailey.
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant 15, Royal Highness LLC, for a license for a provisioning center.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Been moved and supported to grant applicant Royal Highness LLC a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, in reviewing this, this was an application that had come up on 12/21 originally for a pre-qualification. And I believe that there's other business and individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements that are presented here to us, and I wouldn't support this application.
Any other discussion?
And just to be clear, the applicant did receive pre-qualification on December 21st.
Right. Hearing no more discussion, please call the roll to grant Royal Highness LLC a license for a provisioning center.
Vivian Picard.
Yes.
Nicole Cover.
Yes.
Donald Bailey.
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, next is number 16. The applicant is R-PTN Haltner LLC, a license for a grow Class C.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Moved and supported to grant applicant R-PTN Haltner LLC a license for a grower Class C. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard.
Yes.
Nicole Cover.
Yes.
Donald Bailey.
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Number 18, the applicant is Driven Grow LLC for a Class A grow license.
one.
Is that a skip one? Oh, I'm sorry. And I got the right one right here.
Mhm.
Okay, pardon me, number 17 applicant, Meds Cafe LLC for a license for a provisioning center.
Is this for pre-qualification also?
I don't believe so, right?
They have not been pre-qualified, so this is pre-qualification.
Oh, they don't have that
and-
listed on there.
And state licensure.
Okay, so we need a pre-qualification goes with it then.
I believe you've done those in the past as you vote on the license, and that
Just one time.
automatically includes pre-qualification, I believe.
That's correct.
I just wanted to make sure we hadn't pre-approved them. But
No, they have not
I
been
didn't see that.
pre-qualified.
So a motion to grant the license would include pre-qualification.
Yep,
Is the motion up?
No motion yet.
No motion, yeah.
on the floor.
There is no motion?
No.
nope.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pre-qualify and grant a state operating license to Meds Cafe LLC.
That it?
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and supported to grant applicant Meds Cafe LLC both a pre-qualification and a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard.
No.
Nicole Cover.
Yes.
Donald Bailey.
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Number 18, applicant Driven Grow LLC for a Class A grow license.
This applicant was pre-qualified on December 21st.
Yeah, that one's listed, at least on mine. So let's don't-
The ones that aren't listed are the
ones
ones
that
that
don't
are
have.
both.
Mhm. Any wishes here? I've been caught up. I'll move that Driven Grow LLC be granted a license for a grower Class A.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve applicant Driven Grow LLC for a license for a grower Class A. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Next, number 19, Clark Street Investment Group, Inc., a provisioning center, a license, and they already have pre-qualification.
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant Clark Street Investment Group, Inc., a license for a provisioning center. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is an example of an application that's come and gone back and forth a couple of times based on a changing membership, based on criminal arrest, based on other issues that prevent them from having a license. The one thing that I believe, just as we've seen in some of the other applications that Laura has reviewed, that this application has other business or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application. The problematic applicants on this application are still there, not on the paperwork, but they're still fully involved. There's strawman and backroom deals that are made. I can't support this application.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant number 20, Huron View LLC, a license for a provisioning center.
Motion to approve.
Is there support? Is supported. Is there any discussion to grant Huron View LLC a license for provisioning center? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is a temporary operator. That's correct, Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Sales tax for the entire year of 2018 were not paid until 2018. I'm sorry, December of 2018. That's a problem in following the regulations, and certainly the regulations in this case rise to the level of the law relating to taxes. There was a BMR enforcement report. They failed an inspection on January after they'd been operating for 13 months. And it was a basic building security requirement. Not a big deal in itself, and I think it was pretty simple to correct. But after 13 months of being operating, temporary as it was, to fail something so simply, I think there's going to be a lot of effort that has to go into an application to a license like this to ensure. I think this is going to be problematic for the industry going forward.
They did pay the taxes, all right?
Yes.
11 months late.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to grant a license for Huron View LLC for a provisioning center. Go ahead and call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Next, applicant 21, Oregon Life of Michigan LLC, a license for a grower class C.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve applicant Oregon Life, I guess it's Oregon I Life of Michigan LLC for a class C grow. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Okay, next is 22. Applicant is Weisenberger Ventures 2, a license for a provisioning center.
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to grant applicant Weisenberger Ventures LLC, a provisional center license. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, now we have two, right? 23 and 24.
We have 2 items listed, but on number 23, there are 8 licenses.
Oh. Okay.
260, GRA-C-19, 262 through 270.
Okay. So then the applicant has applied for 8 Class C grow licenses, and the second one is for a provisioning center, correct?
It's actually 9,
9?
Attitude Wellness. The first one, it's 9 Class C grows.
Yeah, that's what I had on my
And-
notes.
It's 9. It's 9. I'm sorry, I didn't count the 2.
Can you check the end of that report? Because I counted 7. Because I saw the 9 in the director's report, but when you go to the end of the director's report, it only listed 7 of the ERGA numbers,
This one here, okay, your guys' is.
or the GRA numbers.
Yeah.
There were only 7 GRA numbers. I mean, I could have counted it wrong, I guess, but,
Yeah, there's
so I don't,
there's 260, and that may have been,
It's 9.
Yeah.
It's 9.
yeah, there is 9.
Yeah.
maybe just 2
It-
numbers didn't get added.
It
to
could
that.
be,
Okay.
but there's 9 on the agenda and 9 have been inspected and approved. So that's what we're going, the application is for,
That's what we're voting on today.
Correct.
9 Class C grows. and-
262 through 270 for Class C grow, and then a provisioning center.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and supported to grant applicant Attitude Wellness LLC 9 licenses for grower Class C and 1 license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion?
Is this pre-qualification and,
It is pre-qualification
okay.
because it's not listed. You're right. It's also granting them pre-qualification
And state license.
and state license. Yep. Any more discussion? Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, the next is applicant 25, Alternative Gardens LLC for a license and a provisioning center license and a pre-qualification, if I'm reading this right.
That's correct.
Okay. Wishes of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Been moved and supported to grant applicant alternative, I guess it's called. Alternative Gardens LLC, a license for a provision center and pre-qualification for the provision center. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses, motion passes.
Okay, next is applicant 26. Mayor,
Mario Gibson.
is it Mario Gibson? Is that how they're saying it? LLC for a pre-qualification and a license for a provisioning center.
Motion to approve?
Is there support? Moved and supported to grant Mario Gibson LLC a pre-qualification and a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is a denied application from November of 2018 that comes back to us with a change in ownership. Given what I saw in the current application, I again believe that there's other business or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application. And that goes back to the application that was denied last November. I wouldn't support this application.
Any more discussion? Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover?
Yes.
Donald Bailey?
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay, number 27, the applicant is Lake Effect Group LLC for a license for a provisioning center. And status.
Motion to approve.
Second.
This applicant was pre-qualified in
Right.
February.
The motion, there is the motion, has been seconded. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is another application that was denied. Ownership was changed. It came back. It was pre-approved. And again, there was a BMR investigation where I think there's other businesses or individuals that are likely involved beyond the arrangements presented in the application. And that was where one of the supplemental applicants that had issues that was eventually removed, and he's the allegation, the paperwork now says he's not involved as a license holder, yet Kalamazoo Public Safety had a concern that he is in fact still an owner in the license, and he presents himself as that he's an owner in the license. I believe that happened. Now, when they asked him about it, the supplemental applicant said, "Oh, geez, no, I'm not." Of course, he has to say that because he's already knows that he can't be on the license to get approved. But yet, I believe that he is in fact still on the license, and that's a problem. These were issues going back from last September. I think was the first time we saw this application. I wouldn't support this application.
The other current owner, though, or current owner of the process is good, nothing wrong with him?
Right.
Good, okay.
And they provided proof of the payouts on the change in ownership.
Okay, the motion is to grant Lake Effect Group LLC a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard?
Yes.
Nicole Cover?
Yes.
Donald Bailey?
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson?
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is a pre-qualification and a license for applicant A&H Partners LLC.
And probably the next two are kind of the assumption might be that individuals are still a part of it, but we have to go with what.
Yeah, you got to have
presented.
proof.
Exactly. So for A&H Partners, motion to approve.
Is there support? I'll support it. Motion is to grant A&H Partners LLC a pre-qualification and a license for a Class C grow. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Vivian Picard?
Yes.
Nicole Cover?
Yes.
Donald Bailey?
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson?
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
thank you. Next is applicant 29, First Dort Enterprises LLC for a license for a provisioning center and a pre-qualification, correct? Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved and supported to grant applicant First Dort Enterprises LLC a pre-qualification and a license for a provisioning center. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, regarding this application, the supplemental applicant that was involved in getting this application denied on its first go-round that has been dropped, I don't believe has been dropped. And again, when we talk about proof, nobody is proving anyone guilty of anything, whether they meet minimum standards, whether they meet maximum standards, or don't meet any standards. No one's proving anything here. I think we're going, at least me, I'm going off what I see in the application. And as far as the illicit, the black market marijuana industry goes, the person that was dropped was one of the worst bad actors that was out there. And I don't think for a minute in looking at the payout on this that he has divorced himself from this application. I wouldn't support it.
Okay, any more discussion? Motion is to approve First Dort Enterprises LLC for a pre-qualification and a license. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay, that wraps up the pre-quals and the licensing. Now we have a change of ownership. Number 1 applicant is Modus Inc. And I guess it's a license for a secure transporter. They already have pre-qualifications, so.
Well, Motas has a license, and the business that is merging with them also has a license.
We're approving a merger.
We're approving a merger that would allow the Pure Leaf Transportation to join with Motas, and then Pure Leaf will turn in their license, and they'll operate under Motas's license.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and supported to grant change of ownership to applicant Modus Inc. I just have one question. They paid for both licenses, all right?
Yes.
Great, good deal. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes,
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
thank you. Now, number 8, proposal for decision. 1 applicant. These are back from the denial legal process, is that correct?
That's correct. These 2 next items were initially denied by the board, went through the public investigative hearing process. The proposal for decision was issued by the administrative law judge, and the entire record was returned to the board. Your motion would be to affirm, reverse, or modify in whole or part your initial denial of the license. And that's based on not just what was presented at the hearing, but the entire record before you. And as a reminder, the applicant has the burden, according to the rules and statute, of establishing under Rule 93, subsection 8, by clear and convincing evidence, its eligibility and suitability for a license. So that's the standard you're looking at, whether or not they've met that burden. So a motion again is to either affirm, reverse, or modify your initial denial. And then,
So if you want to vote no, you vote yes. Is that right?
Well, it depends on.
it depends on which way you want to go.
Well, we denied them both already, both 1 and 2.
So you've denied.
So if you're going to continue the denial, then you would have to vote yes.
You would vote to affirm your
Well, yeah,
denial.
right. But that's what I'm getting at. It would have to be an affirmative vote.
And
If the motion is to affirm and you agree with that you're affirming your denial, you would vote yes.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion regarding Pirelli Investments LLC that we affirm the denial of the pre-qualification for a state marijuana license.
It's been moved. Is there support?
And then what I would suggest, you can go ahead and.
Hang on, is there going to be a support for that?
Support.
So there is a support, moved and supported. Okay. Now what did you?
Affirming the denial.
Yep, affirming denial.
Yeah, can we also just accept the judge's decision too? I mean, can you reword it like that or
The
no?
judge approved this one.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying,
So in this case,
yeah.
as I recall, and unfortunately my battery on my computer just died, so I can't pull up the PFD on my laptop. But as I recall, the ALJ recommended denial based on
Not suitable.
a particular provision. So what you could do is, if you agree with that recommendation, if that's a
I don't think that's true. I think you're wrong on that.
We just affirm our decision.
No. What was the judge's decision on?
Your
Hey.
initial denial was under which provision? Could you remind me of that?
4023A.
Okay. And,
That's what the judge found. We said 4022C.
right.
So I think we just have to,
So what you would do is modify your decision to deny if you agree with what the judge has said, since the recommendation was for a denial, but under a different provision of the statute.
right.
So if you agree with his reasoning that the initial reason for the denial is not, that you feel that that was adequately explained, thank you, and that the initial reason for the denial is no longer your reason for denying, but you have, that you agree with the judge that the new provision he cited is, provides support for a denial, then you would modify your decision. Does that, does that help you if
And I'm
you're?
going to clarify. Yeah, go ahead.
Is my motion up so we can discuss?
Yeah, it is.
Mr. Chairman, regarding this, the administrative law judge actually sided with the applicant in this and against our decision and referred it back to us. But in looking at the verbiage that the administrative law judge used, I don't think and I don't know if it was because of the way it was presented to him, he didn't have all the information that I believe, that I know that went into my position on recommending the denial. The administrative law judge references 4 things, which there were many other issues that were concerning for me besides those 4.
Okay, any more?
I want to make sure we're clear here. We're
Yeah, because I muddied the water because I read the wrong thing to you. So
Pirelli, okay.
I'll
So
own it. I read the wrong.
we're on Pirelli, and in that case, let's just make sure everybody's clear. The judge in that case recommended that pre-qualification be granted.
That's what I thought.
So we want to make sure we're clear on that moving forward. So the board initially denied, the judge recommended, based on the findings of the hearing, that pre-qualification be granted. Again, it's up to the board to decide whether you want to affirm your initial denial or modify your denial or reverse and grant pre-qualification in this case.
And right now, the motion is to affirm the denial.
Right.
That's correct. And if you want to do that, it would be useful to just provide some explanation as to, if, for example, you don't agree with the judge's findings because you didn't find testimony, and I'm just giving examples here, credible, or the explanation was not believable, for example. Those are some reasons you might cite as disagreeing with the judge and still affirming your decision.
To that end, in addition to the items that the administrative law judge cited as the only things that were used to address the 4023A denial, I noted that there were extreme and large deposits in and out of the accounts that were not accounted for, that were not considered in the administrative law judge's decision.
Any more discussion on the motion would be to agree with the denial. Is that correct?
Yes.
No more discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
I'm
Hold
sorry,
on.
if I can just again get a little bit of clarity. So you're indicating you're affirming your denial. You disagree with the judge's findings based on additional information.
Based on information that didn't appear to make it into the appeal record, that I used when I formed my opinion based on for the denial.
And that's in the entire record, application record in front of you.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
No.
Nicole Cover,
No.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
No.
Chairman Johnson, you have 1 yes, 3 no's. Motion fails.
So now we need a motion to affirm.
So what you
Good.
just
Mhm.
did is you had a motion to affirm your denial. That one failed. So now you can discuss more if you'd like, or you can have a new motion to, for example, reverse your decision and grant pre-qualification, as the judge recommended in this case. You could modify your decision, or you could certainly move again to affirm if you think additional
I think there was some
discussion.
misunderstanding as to what we were voting on. That vote was to affirm, I
Affirm
think
denial.
The affirm,
Affirm your denial, your initial denial. So you're affirming, yes, you still wish to deny despite the judge's recommendation.
Can we rescind, may I rescind mine, and can we do that vote over? I think there was a little misunderstanding.
So,
So the vote is to affirm the judge's decision,
No.
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 The board
Okay.
decision.
the
No.
board decision.
Board's
Okay.
decision.
And
The
our
judge
decision
said
is
yes,
no.
we said no.
Then I need to change my vote.
Okay.
You wanna,
So-
which one?
I'm just thinking how how that works.
Can you just word it so everybody's very clear?
What we
Thank
could
you.
do is,
Well, we have nothing on the floor right now. So let's,
There's nothing on the floor right now because
Right.
it failed.
right.
Yeah,
So let's,
okay.
I think.
and
the
even
one
with
way you
yours,
could
if it still
handle it,
failed.
if
Pardon?
if it looks like there was an error in the voting, what we could do is a motion to reconsider if somebody from the prevailing side,
Would
which
have to.
actually it failed, so we'll just do a new motion if you want to do it that way. That's just as clean as anything moving forward.
My motion is to affirm the judge's decision.
That's how you voted.
That's how you
That's
vote.
how you vote.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
which was to grant.
Right.
She
Okay.
didn't.
We had a motion to affirm the board's
She was a no
denial,
vote, right?
and that motion failed. So what we would do now is just a new motion.
Okay,
And it's again to either
Right.
affirm the board's initial denial, to reverse the board's
right.
denial, and that would mean granting the license, or modify the board's denial initially.
Okay, so can I make a motion?
Certainly.
You can, otherwise I'm gonna.
Oh, go on. Go on.
Okay, the chairman moves to reverse our decision and grant pre-qualification to the Pernelli Investment LLC, coordinating with the decision by the judge. I don't know if coordinating is the right word there, but, which is what the judge ruled as well.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to, can I read that back? To deny our position that we took on the application before, rescind that, and grant pre-qualification to Pernelli Investments based on the ruling by the judge. Is that good enough?
That is good, and I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So the motion is to reverse the board's initial denial
Yep.
of pre-qualification or of licensure, and grant pre-qualification.
Right. And you supported that, right?
Correct.
So
It's been moved and supported. Any more discussion?
No, the only thing I would add is that I don't think that a judge would not have taken the entire file into consideration. So it could have been interpreted differently, but I think the whole file would have been
No,
given for
I
the.
think he took it into consideration.
Okay.
I don't think he.
I heard you say not, sorry. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. I'm assuming that he saw the whole file. Oops. As I hit the-
I think it was the way it was presented.
Okay.
And, I know based on what I read from the ALJ,
Gotcha.
there's information that he didn't cite that I believed and
Gotcha.
used. And so I don't,
Okay.
I'm not saying.
I just,
he
yeah, I
didn't
just wanted it
consider
for the record. Yeah, I gotcha. All right.
So
Thank you.
I just want to make sure you're clear. So you have in the proposal for decision a list of all of the exhibits that were presented. That
Mhm.
those are pieces of information the judge would have had available to him in this case. So all of the information that he lists in the proposal for decision is information that was part of the record before him. If there was information perhaps that was in the initial application that neither side put into the record before the judge, he wouldn't necessarily have all of that. But you see a list of exhibits that were put into the record. Those would have been things he would have had to consider.
Yep.
Okay. Motion is to grant pre-qualification to Purnell Investments LLC and rescind our no vote on that whenever it was we did it.
And by doing this,
Reverse.
we would be granting
We're
pre-qualification.
granting pre-qualification, correct.
So you're reversing your denial. That would
Yep.
mean granting pre-qualification.
You got it.
Still have to continue through the licensure process.
That's right. Yep. Okay, please call the roll.
Vivian Pickard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
No.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 3 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay, next is number 2. The applicant is Green Labs LLC. Same scenario, except I do believe the judge was ruled against, or ruled with us on the denial. Is that correct?
So in this case, the board initially denied the license, and I'm just looking for the provision here in the PFD. The judge in this case recommended that the board find that the application for pre-qualification be denied. And you have his analysis in the PFD. And here again, let me just see if I can find the relevant provisions here.
I
The
believe
board
he cited
initially-
4023A.
And we said 4022C, right? And then
4022C, knowingly submitting an application containing false information is the basis of the initial denial. So in this case, the judge analyzed whether or not he agreed with that. And it's my recollection, he found that that was not an issue, but there were, he found specifically, here's the relevant line, the record is insufficient to show petitioner knowingly submitted an application containing false information to support a denial under section 4022C. He then goes on to look at additional information in the record and finds that there were some financial issues, and ultimately recommended that the board deny pre-qualification based on the issues he cites in that part of his PFD.
So if
So
we,
what
I'm sorry.
what your options are, again, to affirm your decision to deny, which was under 4022C, knowingly submitting an application containing false information, or modify your decision in whole or part. In other words, if you want to still deny, but perhaps under a different provision, if you agree with the judge's analysis, for example, you could modify your decision to deny using a different reason than you did initially, or more than one reason. Or you could reverse based on the entire record in front of you, both the hearing record and the application, and grant pre-qualification here.
Can we deny, affirm our denial based on the comments, the reasons that we denied it initially, and then add the judge's, modify it to add the judge's comments?
If you
Denial
believe,
reasons.
if you believe the record supports denying for more than one reason, both the initial reason and the additional reason the judge cited, then you could modify your decision and deny based on both statutory provisions. Again, what you want to look at is whether the record supports denial based on multiple, one or both reasons, essentially. And then you'll want to just give your a little bit of information about why you've come to that conclusion.
Then I make a motion to affirm our denial and then modify it to include the denial comments from the judge.
So that would be a motion to modify.
Modify based on the, and add in the judge's 402.
4023A, the personal and business probity, the applicant's integrity, moral character, and reputation added
Added to it.
added to it.
Okay, is there support for that?
Support.
Moved and supported to reaffirm our decision
And modify.
and modify the reasoning.
So the denial, I just want to make sure we have all of your reasons that you are now denying in your motion. So all of the statutory provisions you're using to deny currently include 4023A, which is, you cited integrity, moral character, and reputation, and personal and business probity is the two subsections of that. And then is it your intention to also still deny under 4022C?
Yes.
And who was the second there? Mr. Bailey, you agree with
Yes.
those provisions?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Cover,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson, you have 4 yeses. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Now, number 9, department report. Do we have any cards, public cards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make this brief. Appreciate your time. That was lengthy. Some numbers for everyone. I was going to sit back there. In terms of statistics, I'll go slow because then everybody writes these down. Pre-qualifications, we've had 1,128 paid and submitted. As of today, 385 have been approved, 143 have been denied, and 122 are inactive. Grower A, 43 submitted, 4 approved, 2 denied. Grower B, 7 submitted, 1 approved, 0 denied. Grower C, 259 submitted, 52 approved, 5 denied. Processors, 70 submitted, 11 approved, 1 denied. Provisioning centers, 246 submitted, 72 approved, 42 denied. Secure transporters, 16 submitted, 4 approved, 0 denied. And you'll notice that number went down from 5 to 4 based on the transfer of ownership today. Safety compliance facilities, 8 submitted, 4 approved, 0 denied. And we still have 114 municipalities that have adopted ordinances. In terms of
Sorry, how many minutes?
114. Some statistics out of the statewide monitoring system. As of last week, we had just over $46 million in sales that had been made through licensed provisioning centers. There was a total weight of 9,385 pounds of product. That includes the raw weight of flour and the net weight of infused products. So that's somewhat misleading because the net weight of infused products is not just inclusive of marijuana, obviously. In the last 30 days, the average price of flour in the regulated market is $184.89, and the median price is $209.47.
What's the quantity?
That is a good question, Mr. Bailey.
Probably an
I think it's ounce. Yeah, let's hope it's not pounds. Yes, I think that's ounces. Any questions on any of that? Thank you. Bulletins, we issued 3 bulletins since the last meeting on February 22nd, one on retesting and remediation. On 2/26, a public health and safety advisory regarding some recalled products. And March 12th, we updated the visiting qualifying patients bulletin, adding some information about other states that now are issuing registry cards or their equivalent. And in terms of outreach, made several presentations to various groups. February 27th to the Michigan Healthcare Human Resources Association. February 28th, Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. March 6th, Bureau of Community and Health Systems. March 12th, at the Canada East Compliance Summit. March 18th and 19th had Metric Advanced Industry User Training, where we had 76 attendees representing 49 different licensees with some more in-depth training on the use of the statewide monitoring system. March 19th to the Michigan Association of Municipal Attorneys. And then all on March 20th, House Oversight Committee, Michigan Environmental Health Association, and the Michigan Municipal League. So still continuing our focus on outreach and education and adding, sending information out publicly into any interested groups regarding the status of both the program that this board deals with, as well as the implementation of the adult use program and the continued operation of the registry card program. That's all I have for you. Any questions or concerns? You're all playing on your phone, so I'll assume no. Thank you very much.
Good job. Okay, public comment. We have Maxwell Murphy, Choice Labs. Where that is. Yep. Nope. Probably not on. It is now.
There.
Test.
There you go.
Okay. Wanted to just start off by thanking the board for all the hard work and the fairness that you've shown throughout the process. I know the licensees really appreciate it, especially when you hold other folks accountable to the same things that licensees have been through. Also wanted to thank Laura for the fairness that you've shown in all of this. I think it's important to point out that the prices on the licensed market are very different than the prices in the unlicensed market. It doesn't seem to be a smooth curve. The normal supply and demand doesn't quite work out because the pricing structures are different. So the licensed folks really cannot compete on price with the unlicensed folks and the black market. With that in mind, I would ask the board to please consider some relief for licensees that have paid the regulatory fee but haven't gotten to operate as expected in the licensed market. I know people have their businesses on hold to a large degree, future investments on hold, employees that have been laid off, just waiting to be able to compete in a licensed market. I think it would be reasonable and fair to reset the license date to the date when the unlicensed operators are shut down. Just seems like a fair thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rick Thompson.
Thanks.
Who's on deck?
Thank you for your time. First of all, let's start with some recognition of the effort made by the board today in considering this huge field of applicants, resolutions, and reconsiders. You're to be commended for the work you did. Having said that, today's 125 plus apps is a prime reason why I'm glad the board's being disbanded by the action of Governor Whitmer. In 1 month, you consider 25 apps, and in another month, you consider 125. It's not your fault, but it is illogical to imagine that this board's able to give the same amount of evaluation and research and scrutiny to both of those examples. That creates an unintended discrepancy in the way applications are approved. Additionally, we saw today a continuation of the use of opinion and supposition in the approval process, which diminishes the credibility of this board's decision-making ability. Regarding the resolution passed by the board today, much attention's been paid to the undeniably negative effect that closing provisioning centers around the state will have on patients. But closing cultivation centers stuck in the application process will mandate the destruction of thousands of cannabis plants. Interrupting the growing cycle is an irretrievable act, and this will have an effect on the supply chain going forward. It helps to create monopoly, adds an additional barrier to success for those entities, and creates another hardship for registered medical marijuana patients. Having caregivers included in the MMFLA program is necessary and appropriate, but asking licensed growers to purchase caregiver cannabis, a bit like asking Buick dealerships to start selling Tesla automobiles. I mean, they could, but why would they? So, on a personal note, I'll miss our little chats. It's been nice. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there support?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Vivian Picard,
Yes.
Nicole Kober,
Yes.
Donald Bailey,
Yes.
Chairman Rick Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Slow down, Rick.